These 6 movies were the highest budget movies of 2024. Each one of them cost over $200 million to produce. With a budget like that, should be no way it fails, right? Well, for a movie to be considered a success, it has to make back at least 3 times its budget. Let's see. Wait, what? Only half of these movies were considered successes. That's awful. But it turns out this problem's been brewing for a while now. Because look, in 2023, the exact same thing happened, even with a couple of huge movies coming out that year. So I have a question. Why are so many huge movies losing money now? In this video, I went on a mission to answer that question. I learned how movie performance has shifted over the last 30 years. I tested how theaters stack up to Netflix, and I looked at what the future of movies really looks like. Let's just say the movie industry is about to change forever. Let me show you why. Let's start by looking at how things have changed. 30 years ago in 1995, movies had a straightforward path to make money. When a new one came out, it would run exclusively in theaters for the first 3 months. After 3 months though, you had another option, VHS tapes. Remember these things? These used to be the only way you could watch movies at home. So you'd go to the store or Blockbuster to pick up the movie and watch it at home. And while you're already out spending money, movie studios also sold merch to get you spending even more. There were a lot of different ways to make money back then. But now, let's just say it's a lot harder to make money. When your movie plays in theaters, you don't get that 3-month grace period like you used to. No, most movies only get a month to a month and a half at max before they get put on streaming services, if they even get run in theaters at all. Meaning there's almost no incentive to actually go out and watch the movie. You might as well wait. Only made worse by the fact that streaming services pay a fraction of what movie studios used to make from VHS sales. Matt Damon explains this pretty well.
The DVD was a huge part of our business, of our revenue stream. You could afford to not make all of your money when it played in the theater because you knew you had the DVD coming behind the release, and 6 months later you'd get a whole nother chunk. It would be like reopening the movie almost. And when that went away, that changed the type of movies that we could make.
But here's my question. How big is the problem really? Like, am I blowing this out of proportion? It's 10 a.m. on a Thursday, and I'm about to go rogue researching. Here's the deal. I know that at a high level, a lot of big budget movies are losing money, but I want to know how big the problem actually is. So I'm going to gather some data on the top 100 movies from last year and figure out what the heck is going on. Should be easy, right? Update. It was not easy. I started by trying to offload the work onto ChatGPT, and that went okay, I guess, but it only gave me half the list because AI. So I had to roll up my sleeves and get to work. Introducing one of the most satisfying spreadsheets I've ever made. Here's what you need to know. Bright green is good, dark red is bad, pretty self-explanatory stuff. This is what I learned. Of all the movies, still only half of them were successes. Of the other half, some did manage to scrape by and make back their budget, but honestly, a lot of them didn't. Those are the tragedies that I put on the spreadsheet. But, looking at this, I felt like there was a lot of context missing in that answer, so I wanted to find some sort of pattern. Looking at the top successes, I was shocked, because nearly all of them were remakes and sequels. Meanwhile, the high-budget original movies, the new stuff, it failed 9 times out of 10. The only originals that did well were low-budget movies from studios like A24 and Neon. Some of them even made back 10 times their budget or more, which is insane. At this point, I started to wonder if the movie industry as a whole was in danger. So to answer that question, I decided to look back at movies from 1995 to see if this is a new problem or not. Which meant I was back to the drawing board. More data, more ChatGPT, more doing it myself because AI. Okay, so it turns out that movies haven't always been setting money on fire. Back in 1995, only 3 of the top 25 movies failed to triple their budget and be considered successes. So, awkward question. Are movies just, bad now? But first, can I ask a favor? I'm on a mission to help make learning fun, and my next goal is to hit 200,000 subscribers. I'm about 75% of the way there, so if you're liking this video, subscribe for more. But I'm honestly still pretty confused about something. How do these big studios take these huge bets and they end up flopping? Shouldn't they be able to do better than that? Well, you might assume that movie studios like Disney or Universal or Warner Brothers, that they make all the movies that they release. But a lot of the time, that's not true. Let me explain. The main goal of a movie studio is to distribute and fund their films, aiming to make back the money that they're investing and turn a profit. Sort of like investing or Shark Tank. Sure, some of the movies they release are produced in-house, but a lot of the time they'll just pay production companies to make their movies for them so that they can focus on the business side, which is where things get interesting. Let's say the studio puts out 10 movies per year, each one costing about $10 million. That adds up to a total cost of $100 million. Even if 9 of those 10 movies make absolutely nothing, all they need is one movie to blow up and they're in the green. The truth is, when it comes down to the dollars, it doesn't matter if a movie is brand new or not. These studios know that the film industry is more competitive than ever before. So when a studio puts out remakes and sequels, they're almost like insurance policies on making money, allowing the originals to be full-on experiments. And as long as the studios keep making money, they're happy. Even with all of that though, the real problem is that people aren't going to the theaters anymore. So I decided it was time for an old-fashioned experiment. I'm gonna be honest, I don't know the last time I went to the movies. I think it was a Wicked, maybe in January of this year. I think the truth is I used to like going to the movies, but in the last few years, I haven't even been able to pay attention to what's actually coming out. So what I'm gonna do is go to a movie and compare that experience to watching a movie at home, because I think there's something fundamentally wrong. Look at this graph. Look at this graph! Okay, yeah, saw that one coming. Over the last 20 years, ticket sales in theaters have been falling pretty consistently. You can see that COVID caused a huge fall off, but even after, it still hasn't come close to recovering. That's because how we're watching movies is changing. In the past, going to the movies was more of a social experience. You'd go out with a group of friends to watch the latest movie, and you'd sit in packed theaters with regular seats so you didn't miss out. People were willing to make that sacrifice because it was cheaper and easier to just go to the theaters instead of waiting to see the movie on VHS. But now, theaters are more expensive and it's easier to just wait till it hits Netflix. So back to our experiment. We're gonna be testing theaters versus home movies in 5 different categories: price, snacks, comfort, movie quality, and experience. Starting with the theaters, let's book some tickets. So at first glance, looking at this page, there's really not that many movies to watch. Also, like, why is this horror movie, only playing at 10:15 in the morning? The one that stands out to us the most is F1 the movie. $29 subtotal. Tickets have been acquired. We're gonna go see F1 tonight. And it was actually perfect because it started raining later that day. So we headed out to the theater, grabbed our snacks, and settled in for the movie, which was actually really good.
Family time.
Come on, kids.
Escalate the situation. De-escalate.
In months.
Here's what I thought about the experience. First things first, going to the movies is a lot more expensive than I actually realized. It was $33 for 2 tickets and $31 for 2 drinks and 2 snacks. All in all though, the experience was great. I feel like that movie especially, F1, it was a movie that is better to see in theaters. Watching a movie at home is pretty different to watching a movie in theaters, where you have this huge screen, immersive sound, people around you, and you're not on your phone. You have no distractions. With all that said, I had a great time, and here are my rankings. Let's see how home movies stack up soon. To get people coming back, theaters have been innovating a lot, adding reclining chairs, 4DX, D-Box, all kinds of crazy and wacky new options so that your ticket is worth the extra money and your experience is different from what you get at home. Because it's hard to beat this. Watching movies at home is comfortable and cheap, and oh, this couch is so nice. So no matter how much these theaters add, it's really hard to compare. And that's been a big part of why movies are struggling to make money right now. Because if people aren't going to the theaters and streaming services pay less, where do you make money? Later on, my girlfriend and I decided to stay at home and have a movie night in. We decided to watch something a little bit nostalgic, and honestly, the experience was really nice. I just got a new soundbar for TV. We're redecorating our house, and it was really nice to just stay in and watch the movie in the comfort of our home. Oh, and the snacks, way cheaper. So just got done watching a movie at home, and I honestly thought this would be more of a slam dunk than it actually is. It's nice to be able to get snacks and the movie for a lot cheaper, and it's nice to be in the comfort of your own home. But I found it so much easier to get distracted while watching the movie. Man, I just can't help but to feel like the magic of watching a new movie in theaters with the full experience is something that I'm never gonna stop wanting to do. With that said, here's what I ranked watching a movie at home. It won the competition, but with that said, I like both. I like them for different reasons, and I'm gonna keep doing both as well. So with that then, why do movie studios thrive on remakes and sequels? Because they know that nostalgia and excitement to see what's next will get you out and into the theaters. Because you've been waiting forever and you want to know what comes next. In my opinion, that's why they split movies like Wicked into 2 parts, to get you coming back for more. But I still have one more burning question. Without original movies, what's the future of the film industry? To answer that, let's look at what's working right now. And that starts back in 2023. Do you remember Barbie and Oppenheimer? These movies came out on the same day in July of 2023 and created a huge moment. It started because Christopher Nolan, the director of Oppenheimer, left Warner Brothers, the studio which happened to be working on a movie called Barbie. Once Warner Brothers found out he was making a movie, they decided to put out their movie on the exact same day. A little bit of a spite for leaving their studio. But here's the thing, these 2 movies are completely and totally different. But because the studios were pumping a ton of money into marketing to try and get an edge over each other, when the movies released, something crazy happened. People showed up to watch both, wearing themed outfits and turning these movies into moments. And because of that, both of these movies had record-breaking opening weekends. That right there is the key to having a movie that succeeds. And there's other examples too. The Minecraft movie, Despicable Me, it's happened time and time again. For new movies to do well, they need to go beyond just being a movie. They need to become a trend. But there's another path too, and this is one that I'm more excited about. Going back to the spreadsheet that I made back at the start of this video, I mentioned that small budget movies are doing really well. Movies from studios like A24 and Neon. These studios invest in lower budget movies from newer producers, and the results have been crazy because they have lower pressure to do well, thanks to their lower budgets, and they can experiment more. As a result, these movies are pushing the film industry forward and making a ton of money too. So it looks like the future of movies comes down to 3 paths. Remakes and sequels from big budget studios, movies that create viral moments, or small budget movies that can handle more risk. Beyond all of that, what should you know as a consumer? Mainly, just know where your dollars are going. Streaming services are convenient, yeah, but they don't make as much money for the directors, the producers, the studios. So if you love a movie, go out and support it by going to theaters. So enjoy whatever you enjoy. But remember, there's a lot of great movies outside your comfort zone too. And most importantly, just have fun. That's the point of movies, isn't it? But I also want to know what you think. So if you have any thoughts, leave them down below in the comments. And in the meantime, check out this video I made right here about the lottery and how it gets you hooked. I'll see you in a few weeks.